World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, Cavs Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Hey, Chet, the Phillies have opened the season ice cold. They did win yesterday, turned around and lost again today. They're 1-5. The Sixers have lost 4 of 7 after a big win last night against the Celtics. They're still hanging in there. Flyers are playing out the string. The Eagles have made a move for another defensive lineman. We'll talk about that. UConn and LSU are the college basketball champions. And we're going to talk roller derby tonight. So much to talk about on Philly Press Box Radio.
Yeah, not the start to the baseball season that we were hoping for, Bill. I wasn't in panic mode, but I'm certainly a little bit concerned. I'll say that. By the way, Derek Hall with a right thumb injury today, too. We don't know how serious that is, but they have called up the Clemens kid. So probably going to miss at least a few days. We will talk Sixers and Flyers and Eagles, too. And, oh, yeah, congrats to the LSU women and UConn men on those national championships.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. We'll certainly talk a lot of Phillies because, as you might be panicking after 6 games, me not so much.
I said concern, not panic.
Concerned. Okay. All right. Well, hey, we have a great guest joining us tonight in the roller derby and Philadelphia Warrior legend and Philly Press Box Radio Hall of Famer Judy Arnold making a return visit. That is going to be great. For those that might not know Judy, Chet, maybe they're a little younger than us. Give us a quick rundown.
Most people are.
Yeah, right? Give us a quick rundown on Judy.
Well, yeah, as mentioned last week, I used to watch the Philadelphia and Eastern Warriors roller games action pretty much every Sunday evening in the late 60s and early 1970s. And Judy Arnold was pretty much the face of the franchise at that time. A pretty face, too, by the way. Heck, they even called her Pretty Judy. She retired in 1975. Roller derby pretty much disappeared at about the same time. And then many years later, I discovered through an old friend of mine, Gary Powers, that there was a roller derby reunion event taking place in Philly in 2012. Now, side note about Gary, he and I went to Penn State together way back in the mid-70s, starting at Schuylkill campus. And then unbeknownst to me, years later, I found out he was a big roller derby fan back in the day, just like I was, and somehow ended up, as a matter of fact, as the Roller Derby Hall of Fame's executive director. So I went to that event in late 2012 where I met Judy Arnold and little Richard Brown. Remember him? They're in the picture right there, and that's Gary in the middle. Had a great chat with Judy at that particular event. We stayed in touch, and then you and I had Judy on our show after we started doing our show in 2014. We had her on with us in 2016 and 17. And, then I didn't really talk to her much for a while after that, but I did hear through her on Facebook that she was working on a book a few years ago. Well, she has finished that book. It came out last year, and I got it. It's great. I read it. So I said, hey, I got to get her back on the show. So, this is the night, Judy Arnold.
Well, that's going to be cool. And we're going to talk to Judy a little bit later. But first, Chet, we're going to talk some Phillies. The open of season in Texas, they get spanked by the Rangers with Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler on the mound. They got a good game from Bailey Falter, not good enough to win, losing 2-1. Now they've played the Yankees. They've lost 2 out of 3. They did get a good pitching effort today from Aaron Nola, but again, came up short. Matt Strahm saved them last night with 4 solid innings, bullpen pitch goods for the win. So you concerned about the slow start from Nola and Wheeler, and even Taijuan Walker? He had a tough first inning the other night.
Yeah, he was fine after the first inning. He was pretty good the next 3 innings, but one bad inning sometimes will kill you. It happened to Nola back in the opening game of the season. Nola looked all right for 3 innings. Then all of a sudden in the fourth inning, he collapsed. Good thing about Nola throughout his career, after he has a bad game, a real, bad inning like that, his next start, he usually does pretty well. And he did so today. Unfortunately, he was going up against Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and the Phillies only mustered a couple of runs, so they lost. But yeah, 1-5 is certainly concerning. Again, it is only 6 games, so I'm not in panic mode. The Yankees are pretty good. Texas, looked good. I think they're 4-2 now. They swept the Phillies and they won today, I believe. And now the Phillies do come home. The opener, in case you didn't hear, has been postponed from tomorrow. It'll be Friday afternoon instead. And the next 10 games, I believe, are against the Reds and Marlins. And those first 6 games will be at home. So hopefully the Phils can right the ship here, get back on track. But yeah, it was a little concerning the way the pitching especially did not look so good over the first week of the season, including Zach Wheeler in game 2. So they have some work to do for sure. And even the hitters, they've gotten a lot of hits, a lot of guys on base, but they can't seem to group them together. Plus, they've made some dumb base running moves as well. So, yeah, it's early in the season. You hopefully will get all that straightened out.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you hit the starting pitchers pretty good. What do you think of the bullpen so far? They've already made a one transaction already. Soto didn't pitch very good again. Brogdon didn't pitch well his first time out. He's pitched well a couple times since then. What is your thought on the bullpen at this point on a very small sample size?
It's gotten a little better as we moved into the first full week of the season, but it was scary bad early on. Soto has not looked good. And Kimbrel, didn't look great either, even in getting the non-save in the win. It was a 4-0 game. He gave up a run and brought the tying run on the plate eventually before getting out of it. So Kimbrel scares me a little bit. Sir Anthony, gave up a leadoff double or triple today, but then settled down. So I have faith in Sir Anthony. I think the bullpen will be okay. To be honest, I'm more concerned about the starters because we don't know what the deal is with Ranger Suarez. Falter looked good, and he looked good at times last year, but he's not a top 3 guy. We know that. Matt Strom looked good in his 4 innings of work in his first start, but he hasn't done a whole lot of starting in his career. And who knows what's going on with Andrew Painter? Haven't heard anything lately about Painter. So I'm more concerned about the starters than the bullpen.
Yeah, Suarez threw live on the mound today in Clearwater, so. Okay. He must be getting close anyway, at least there's no place to have a rehab start at this stage of the season. So I guess it has to be live, down here for now.
Hey, speaking of guys making progress, how about Bryce Harper? Batting practice yesterday, and they said he was banging them out of the ballpark. He could hit right now if they wanted him to. They said they're more concerned about him, sliding and that sort of thing because of the elbow surgery. So, initially they said maybe July, then they didn't put him on the 60-day injured list, which means he could come back before the end of May. It's sounding to me like he will be back in May for sure. So that's good news after a 1-5 start, at least.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, the lineup, again, small sample here. The lineup's been getting shifted around pretty regular. Alec Bohm playing a fairly good amount of first base. I'm not big on that move. And now with his injury you mentioned earlier today, maybe there's more Alec Bohm at first base. That's getting Sosa and some other guys. Clemens, if he's getting the call up, is probably going to get to play some infield. I think maybe this Rhys Hoskins injury could be a little more serious than we thought for this team over the course of the year.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it might be. Again, we don't know what the extent of the injury to Hall is. It's a right thumb thing, but who knows? It was just jammed and it'll be fine in a couple of days, or if it's something more serious. We don't know. They haven't said just yet. But it's a concern, definitely. I'll tell you, Trey Turner's look good. Bryson Stott's look good. Bohm got off to a great start. I think the last couple of games not as good, but I think the hitting's going to be there. So, let's talk in 2 weeks and see where they stand.
That's what I'm thinking. And, I've seen some of our people that follow us that are much more concerned than you and I are, and you probably even a little bit more than me. It's way, way, way early. And certainly, we analyze game by game starting for all 162 of them because that's just what fans do. But I think it's way too early to be talking about this. Hey,
Yeah.
and with Joe, look at Joe. He's already sending Kimbrel down the road here in June.
It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't last the year. So I'll go with that anyway.
Yeah, and I do like what Joe says here. I don't like ball moving from back and forth. I'm with that, but you got to have somebody that can fill that spot, whoever it might be. And right now, it doesn't look like we've got anybody to do that.
I just heard Rob Ellis say on the radio the same thing. He'd rather not see Bohm shift back and forth, keep him at third, figure out who's going to play first, and go with that. We didn't mention that Nick Castellanos, who got off to a decent start, but now he's kind of reverting back to his old form. A lot of people thinking Castellanos is going to have a much better year than last year, but I'm not convinced just yet.
Yeah, it's too early.
It's early.
Too early.
I know.
You would like to see him come out of the gates on fire, but that's just not necessarily how it works. So, but speaking of being on fire, you got to like what Trey Turner has given this in 6 games. He looks like he's going to be fun to watch and going to be on base, going to do everything we thought we were getting. One can only hope it stays that way.
Yeah, and we got a couple of Schwarber bombs also in the last 2 days, so that was good to see. The center fielder, Brandon Marsh, who didn't play today, they said he might have been banged up with something. He had an awful game Monday night, but then a great game on Tuesday night, hitting a home run and running the base as well. So that was good to see. I like Marsh. I think Marsh is going to be okay. Yeah, I'm not pushing the panic button yet, Bill. I'm just saying I'm a little concerned because of the 1-5 start because they're in a tough division and the Braves are playing well. The Mets are a good team. So you hate to get behind the 8 ball right away like this.
Absolutely. We've seen it with other teams. And like you say, let's visit it in a couple of weeks. We'll certainly talk about it every week as the season plays out. But it's way too early to get too excited. They could, win. Heck, they could win 4 out of 6 before we talk again, and they're right back in the mix and all.
We hope.
Good.
We hope.
All right. And PJ left us a note as well. The Mets were swept, so don't worry too much about them. The Mets are still the Mets.
I think the Braves are clearly the team to beat in the East. So, speaking of the Mets, the pitcher he's gotten off to a rough start with them. Good old what's his name?
Verlander.
The other one.
Verlander got hurt, right? Scherzer.
Yeah, Scherzer off to a rough start.
Yeah. All right, we will certainly talk more Phillies as we go. But hey, I wanted to jump in before we get to our Judy Arnold conversation. Chet, UConn and LSU took care of business to win the college basketball championship. Did you watch either one of those games? And it sounds like the women's game had the largest TV audience ever. That was kind of good to see.
I watched one of the women's game Friday night, a real barn burner. And then the Sunday game, I actually was doing some work on my computer, but watching the game, and it was great to see. Caitlin Clark, fun to watch. And yes, it was the largest audience for a women's NCAA game, 9.9 million viewers, crushing a record that was set more than 20 years ago. Clark, really good, fun to watch. She came up, one win short, but LSU star Angel Reese is pretty impressive also. Meanwhile, the men's title game was seen by more people at 14.7 million, but that was actually among the lowest men's title games and a decline of 15% from last year. So maybe that was just because, so many of the powerhouse teams were knocked out a couple of weeks ago. Who knows? But I did watch, and it was some good basketball, certainly.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised about the women's game because there have been great women players and great women's teams all along that didn't draw this kind of attention. So I'm not sure if it was Caitlin Clark was the draw, but there have been other great players as well, and good for them though. Good for them to have a draw like this and a good game. And hey, congratulations to LSU. And for UConn, what a run. I mean, I don't
5 titles in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody was thinking they would be there, but not surprised at the TV ratings. We talked about that, over the last couple of weeks, what was going to happen when the Blue Bloods weren't in there, were people going to watch, right. And apparently they didn't quite as much.
I know you've been busy with work lately. Did you get to see any of the action?
I did not. And actually, I taped them both, but I haven't been able to watch them. So I followed them and read about them, and that 5 a.m. start is just wearing this old guy out.
You got a lot going on. By the way, I'm a little hungry, and today is National Deep Dish Pizza Day. I'm a fan of any kind of pizza, but I do like the deep dish pizza, so that may have to be my dinner after we finish up tonight.
Well, there's a day for everything. What can we say about that?
Speaking of which, while we're talking about that, tomorrow is New Beer's Eve, because it was dating back to the night before Prohibition, and then Friday is New Beer Day. There's a beer holiday pretty much every week, so this is the one this week.
Good deal. Well, hey, Chet, spring is here. It's time for you to save some money with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, Bill, that is absolutely correct. And Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
That's right. Well, hey, Chet, speaking of driving, it's a short drive for you over to the Irish Rover Station House, and it's baseball season over there as well. Tell us what's going on at the Rover.
Exactly 20 minutes from my house, in case you're wondering. Lots happening at the Irish Rover Station House. As always, they still have Quizzo every Wednesday evening. And this Thursday evening at the Rover, the folks from Yards Brewery will be there. You can sample a new Yards beer release at the Rover. And, check this out. Great dinner specials every week. Usually it's Thursday through Sunday. This particular week, it's Thursday through Saturday, not Sunday, because they will be closed for Easter Sunday, but they have a yummy Hawaiian salmon. Also, they have live music most Saturday nights, and this weekend it is Soul Shine. I've heard lots of good things about Soul Shine. I might have to pop over there. Always 24 beers on tap at the Irish Rover Station House. The patio will be open for the season real soon, if it's not already, whenever the weather permits, of course, so probably not tomorrow. Again, the Irish Rover will be closed this Sunday, giving their great staff the day off for Easter. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. You can get more details on everything I just told you about on their website, irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hi, this is Ray Dinger, and it is always fun to talk sports with these two guys, Bill and Chet, on Philly Press Box Radio.
Hey, Chet, do you think there's a beer special day on Easter?
There will be at my house.
Good answer. I figured you'd come up with that. All right. Hey, I know roller derby legend Judy Arnold is one of your very favorite athletes to come through Philadelphia. You nominated her for our Philly Press Box Hall of Fame several years ago, and she was selected. That was cool. You told us something about Judy in the opening, but you had a chance to visit with her to talk about roller derby and a whole lot more that she has accomplished, taken on and accomplished over the years, and culminated it now with a book. So tell us about your sit-down visit with Judy.
Well, Judy Arnold's had a very interesting life, and over the last few years, she documented it in a book that she finally finished and published last year. As I said, I don't read many books, but I had to read this one. I did, and really learned a lot about her that I didn't know previously. If you remember the old roller derby on Channel 48 in Philly back in the day, or even if you don't, I think you're going to enjoy my chat with Judy. So let's fire that up. Here we go.
Glenn Miller and Judy Arnold now. The jamming action. Judy Arnold, everybody's All-American gal, trying to go long distance. Glenn Miller up, and there's Arnold with that patented hip check, knocking down Glenn Miller.
So happy to have this wonderful woman back on Philly Press Box Radio. It has been way too long. Roller Derby Hall of Famer, Judy Arnold. Hey, Judy, welcome back.
Hey, Chet. Good to see you. We've only aged a couple of years.
Hey, Judy, when you see a video like I showed at the start, you skating around 50 years ago, does that bring back a lot of memories?
Oh my gosh, yes. Anytime I see him, I'm like, what? Who did that?
Oh, man. Well, Judy, you are not only a roller derby Hall of Famer, you're also a minister and a public speaker, and now an author. Yeah, you wrote this book last year, Derby Queen, the Judy Arnold Story. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. What made you decide to write an autobiography?
Many people over many years had said, you need a book. You need to write a book. And I thought, no way, I'm not a book writer. I don't think so. But it just happened. It was 8 years ago that some young couple was speaking to me and they said, Judy, you need a book. And it was like, yes, this is the time. And it was a long process, being that I'm a skater and an athlete and not a writer. I wasn't good in school. It's just not my thing. But I had help, and God bless the people that helped me. I'm so grateful for the way it came out. It got my life, and yet there's tons more. One of my housemates said, you need to write another book. I said, be quiet.
Well, you grew up in Northern California, and while I know you loved your parents and your brothers, you wrote in the book that your relationship with your mom and dad wasn't always ideal. How so? Yeah,
well, when I was young, of course, they were together, but there was alcohol in the home, and some arguing, not a lot, but by the age of 9, my dad divorced my mom, and that broke my heart because I was very close to my dad, being the only girl. I had 2 brothers that I fought with all the time, and but anyway, I was close to my dad, so it was really a heartbreaking experience when he left, because he said, oh, I love you, honey, and I always will, but then he's gone. My mom was not a real affectionate person, but she hung in there with us. I thanked her years and before she died, many times I thanked her for not giving up on us 3 kids, because you can imagine me alone was a handful. But then 2 brothers, one older, one younger, and she hung in there with us. She worked hard as a waitress. It's in the book, a lot of that stuff, but some painful stuff in my childhood. I've had people read it and say, I had no idea the things you went through. So, you're just a star. You don't have any problems. Your life was always wonderful.
I learned a lot about you in the book. You said you weren't a great student. I didn't know that. I would never have guessed that. You mentioned, though, that you were a very active kid and that you indirectly developed your signature leapfrog move even before you started skating. How so?
Absolutely. I would start, for whatever reason, leapfrog over a fire hydrant. I don't remember how that exactly got started, but anything challenging. And as I got older, I thought, I wonder if I can get over that mailbox. I gave it a try, and I could leapfrog mailboxes. So I was getting ready for roller derby and big people like Earlene Brown that I had to leapfrog over.
You mentioned that you discovered an interest in roller derby as a youngster. You actually joined the Bay Area Bombers at the young age of 16. So when you started skating, obviously you were the youngest one there. Were you intimidated at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember, in training school, and with my group of skaters in the training school, I was considered one of the best. So, you get a little, okay, I'm really good. And then I stepped on the track with the pros, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to block, who not to block, who was going to kill me, and it was intimidating. But I had Peanuts Carol Myers, and she had trained with me, and she'd already got on the Bombers. I said, what am I supposed to do? She said, stay out of the way. So I did for a little while.
Always good advice. You ended up with the Hawaiian Warriors, and then that franchise moved to Philadelphia in 1967. After living on the West Coast and then Hawaii, that had to be a real culture shock, moving to Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Besides that, a California girl.
Yeah.
Most of the kids that came to Philly were from California. So we knew nothing about that kind of cold. I mean, cold here was a little light jacket and, a pair of pants instead of shorts. I think I put another funny story in there about a car that someone had brought from California This is later in my career, and she needed to sell it, so I bought it. And she out here had put plastic seat covers to protect the seat covers. I know you back east, y'all don't do that, but I bought it from her. And one winter day, I came out of the arena and I jumped. I was freezing. I jumped in my car and I heard crack. Plastic breaks like glass.
Yeah.
I was like, oh dear, cold.
Hey, before long, roller derby was drawing huge crowds in Philadelphia, first at the arena, then the still relatively new Spectrum. The sport would occasionally go to other destinations. Didn't you have a scary experience in Puerto Rico?
Oh yes, they had sent our skating films into Puerto Rico for a year before we went, and I got all kinds of fan mail from there. So when we went there, the fans were like so excited, and the building I don't even know if it held maybe 1,000. I'm guessing not even that much, but it was, that place was packed, and people started coming. They were trying to get through the roof, through windows, any way they could get in there. And by the time the game was near over, they were surrounding the tracks. Some were trying to sit on the edge. You know what the track looks like.
Yeah.
And but the fans were almost like Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, they were there. And but Buddy Atkinson said to me, Judy, as soon as the final whistle blows, make sure the girls know, get off of the track and get into the dressing room. So I told the girls, and as soon as the whistle blew, we took off because the fans just mobbed the track. They wanted to meet, they wanted to meet Judy Arnold, Buddy Atkinson, and one of our girls, Drew Scott, got knocked down and almost trampled. And Jim Trotter saw her and grabbed her hand and picked her up. And she made it to the dressing room, and half of the track caved in. Of course, wow. the guys were okay because they were stronger to deal with, because mobs are dangerous. I don't care what they're at. And they don't mean to be, but they're, it was that was one of my most frightening experiences.
Well, fans nicknamed the Spectrum Judy's Place. You opened a clothing store called Judy's Other Place. I like that. And didn't you and a teammate or two actually do some singing, Judy and the Jammers?
Yes.
Is that right?
Oh, yes. I didn't know how much singing I did, but
I got to find the video of that.
I don't know. Yeah, someone may have been there that videoed, but I played the bass guitar. That's because when we first came to Philly, we were so bored in the hotel. And one of the girls could play a guitar. I mean, she'd make it talk almost. She said, why don't we get you a bass? I'll teach you the bass. And then she taught Yolanda the keyboard, we just learned some little bit of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had about 3 runs I knew, do, whatever. And she was so gifted the guitar. She'd play all around that. She knew where I was going. I didn't follow her. She followed me. But because and when they had us come to the arena in Philly, the place was packed early because we did it before time. And the manager came in the dressing room and said, get out there because they're trying to break in here to get in here to see your group. That's how popular. I'm so grateful.
Before we continue with our chat, I think we need to show another clip of you in action on the banked track.
Okay.
Arnold now spinning around, and she's moving up to the ever-dangerous Diane Severson. Arnold with her helmet off, making a few necessary adjustments. And Arnold now, yes sir, her knees knocking. Yep. Now Gwen Miller dropping back on defense. Now Severson ordering Gwen Miller on defense. Arnold now looking over the situation. Let's see how Judy Arnold fares. And look, Gwen Miller tried that hip check, but it backfired. Arnold's got Gwen Miller and puts it right on Severson. And look at Severson along with Gwen Miller, and whoop, over the rail Miller, and Severson hanging on to Gwen Miller. And look at Judy Arnold. Arnold having a ball. Look at Quarles. Arnold. Yes, sir. Flipping Severson over the rail. There's Trevino trying to help out. And what do you know, my good friends? The third period coming to an end. And look at Diane Severson.
Well, that was great. Now, while a chunk of the roller games action was, kind of scripted, you certainly had your share of some very real injuries during your career. Tell me about some of those.
Well, when I was a kid in San Francisco with the Bay Bombers, I skated too close behind one of the girls that, when you're skating, you're swinging your arms, and she hit me right in the nose. And I don't know if I put that in the book, but I went to the doctor the next day and they said I broke both nasal bones, but there was nothing they could do. But I've never had a problem with it. And I'm so grateful. Probably the greatest injury was in 73. Yeah.
Yeah, the broken ankle, right?
It's a spectrum. I was, all those people, the place was packed, and I was doing what I usually did, trying to block two girls out. And the next thing I know, I'm in the rail. I'm going toward the rail, and my skate caught on that bottom rail that keeps us from skating out. And my body went that way. And I broke my ankle in 7 places and dislocated it. It was a horrible, and lots of bruises. And,
Sure.
I'll never forget the morning I woke up thinking, who hit me? And I don't know if you're going to ask this question, but this is about the movie and Raquel Welch.
My next question. Yep.
All right, go ahead.
About the movie, during your first visit to our show back in 2016, we did talk about the fact that you were in Kansas City Bomber. You appeared as yourself and also acted as Raquel Welch's stunt double for many of the more difficult skating action scenes. We just lost Raquel in mid-February. I want to ask you again about that. If I remember, you said you had a thick, dark wig on for your skating scenes, and that made it kind of tough to do because you were having trouble seeing skating around.
Absolutely, because I've always had short hair and I have good peripheral vision. So when you're skating, you need to know who's next to you, or, and when we went to do the movie, they put this wig on my head. And the hair not only had to be here, but it had to be in my face when we were doing the movie. They said, as much as you can, keep it in your face, because they didn't want people to know it wasn't Raquel. We probably worked on the track for a couple, 3-4 days for me to get used to that. And I never really totally did, but I was able to function.
You also said Raquel didn't seem like she was in the best of spirits. She wasn't in a great frame of mind some of the time.
Yeah, it was a experience for me, because you assume as young people, especially, we think if you have money, looks, and you're popular, you're happy. But working with Raquel Welch, I sensed that she was not a real happy person. Mm-hmm. She was kind to us. And I joke with people, I said, she was wise, because she knew we could hurt her if we wanted to. None of us would do that, we wouldn't, but she was kind to us. But I just sensed a sadness in her. And that really caused me to start thinking about, who are you, Judy Arnold, and where are you going, and what's your life about? Well, when I got home, I started where is my life going,
Yeah, well, that movie came out in 72. And then in 1973, you did suffer that badly broken ankle. Within a couple of years, then you did decide to retire. Take us through that decision, give up on a sport that you were terrific in, making some money, and then to all of a sudden go to, as you put it in the book, an empty slate.
Yes. It was from the movie, I began to think, so where's my life going? Because I was doing things that were against my conscience and trying to, it's okay, you do your thing, you do yours, and it's all okay. But I wasn't happy with who I was. And I remember leaving the Spectrum where the place was packed cheering my name. And I loved that. I loved it. But I left there and I drove home alone, and I didn't like who I was becoming. And people only see the star. They don't, not many people knew me, because I didn't let people get too close. I didn't want to get hurt again. I started searching, and Sally Vega, who skated in the movie with me, she spoke to me about my life. And she said, Judy, you should give your life to God. And I thought, what's wrong with her? God, I'll never have another day of fun. And, I left home to have fun. But I started to think, well, maybe somehow, if I can know God, my life can be better. And so to make it short, is that what happened was she called me when I was skating in Hawaii, this is months later, and said, hey, Judy, I was born again tonight. I got saved. I said, what's that? What is that? And she said, well, when you come back to New Jersey, you can go to church with me. So that next Sunday morning when I got back, I went to church and went to the altar when they said, you know what, you're a sinner and you're lost and you need Jesus. And I thought, that's me. That's me. And I went forward and I accepted Christ, and it was a process of working in my life. It was a process. But what I really want to say is, in my personal time alone, trying to pray, I felt the love of God in such a way that that's what I always look for. I look for love. We're all looking for love and acceptance. And when we don't find it, we look another one. Try this, try that, try this. But when I really met Jesus Christ personally and knew that he knew everything about me and he loved me, it was like, okay, this is where my life needs to go. I want to follow the Lord.
You ended up teaching Bible school. You became an ordained minister, spoke to inmates at the LA County Jail for a while on Mondays.
Years.
Yeah, quite a life. The Roller Derby Hall of Fame was out of business for more than 3 decades. But when it got resurrected in 2004, not surprisingly, you were in the first new class of Hall of Famers. You're also, by the way, in our Philly Press Box Radio Hall of Fame, the only female with that honor. So
Wow,
you didn't even know that, I bet.
No.
You were honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's got to be nice to, be remembered and appreciated all these years later after roller derby.
Yes, I'm so grateful. I have a great relationship with most of the skaters. We have a reunion every year here in Vegas, and fans come, and God made me who I was. No matter what we do with our life, our Creator made us, and he had a purpose for our life. And roller derby, I believe, fit into that somehow, and got to be famous for such a time as this, to have a book and let people know that God loves them, no matter where they're at, no matter what they're doing. And my skater friends, or many of them are Christians now too. It's amazing.
I had so many other questions that I didn't get to, so you're going to have to come back another time and we'll do some of those.
Let's do it.
I wanted to say again how much I enjoyed this book. It's called Derby Queen, the Judy Arnold Story. How can your fans get a copy, Judy? I'm not giving mine away.
There's numbers away. If you want it signed by me, then you need to go through my website, judyarnoldskater.com.
I got mine signed.
judyarnoldskater.com. And if you go through there, it's PayPal, but you don't have to be a PayPal member. You just order the book and put your credit card, and I'll sign it and send it off to you. Otherwise, you can send a check. I have a address here in Reading where they can send a check. And then it's actually now on Amazon as a Kindle. So you can download it to your phone or to your...
For just $10, by the way, if you do the Kindle.
And chat, God willing, I'm coming to Philadelphia this year, and I'll be...
I was just going to say, if you do make it back to Philadelphia or South Jersey, please let me know. I owe you lunch. We may all be getting older, Judy, but you still have a lot of fans out there, and this book is great. So buy it, read it. Derby Queen, the Judy Arnold Story. Thank you so much, Judy.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chet.
Well, Chet, I'm just gonna start out and say that is an amazing woman right there. I'll start out with that.
Yeah, she is awesome. I'm so glad I got to know her. My thanks to my old buddy Gary for introducing me to her 10.5 years ago. And now, Judy and I are friends. I talked to her on the phone about a month ago for a good 20 minutes while I was on a car ride somewhere. And I'm so glad she's doing well. I didn't know she had a heart attack about 20 years ago. I didn't realize that until a few weeks ago. Doing well now and living out in Northern California. And I do hope she gets back east this summer. She occasionally does come back in the summer, and I saw her in, I think, 2016 or 17. So, yeah, I agree. There should be a movie of her life. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to flip up. There's a bunch of comments here. I'm going to try to put as many of them up here as I can. The other thing I wanted to say, Chet, is the old videos. Great job pulling them together. And, it took me way back in time, a long time ago, but those videos were cool. The old pictures are very cool. And, I guess, again, I'll say this, the quite a humbled woman. And it's amazing that somebody could be at the top of one mountain and go down to the bottom of the mountain and end up back at the top of another mountain. I think that kind of explains Judy Arnold.
Yeah, and we have great guests pretty much every week on our show, but I was really looking forward to this one. So I talked to her the other day and I prepared for it, and I didn't mind spending, 5 or 6 hours afterward getting all those videos and pictures together and enhancing our little interview because she's worth it. Such a nice woman. And clearly from all the comments, she's got a lot of friends and fans out there all these years later. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate everybody that joined us. There's a lot of Judy fans that came on to watch that interview and watch our show tonight. And we certainly appreciate that and hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did.
And many of them came on just because Judy was on, and we appreciate that. But if any of you are Philadelphia sports fans, check us out every week because we got good stuff for you every single week.
Right. And we have a YouTube channel. So check that out. Philly Press Box Radio on YouTube. Like us, follow us, do whatever. We certainly appreciate that as well.
And I mentioned to Judy, the whole show is on there, live as we're doing the show. But tomorrow morning, I'll break down her interview and put the interview separately on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can just, go right to that if you don't want to watch the rest of this great show.
There you go. All right. Good job by you too, by the way, pal.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. So, hey, let's move on a little bit and tell us what's going on over at Cavs Philly tailgates.
Well, because the game was postponed tomorrow, I assume the tailgate's going to be postponed until Saturday. But yeah, Bob Cavanaugh and his folks will be quite busy over the next several days. They are throwing tailgate parties before both the home opener, which again is now going to be Friday, not Saturday. And then Friday, not today. There's a Saturday tailgate also, and that is sold out, but you can still get in on the one before the home opener. That again has been moved to Friday, and boy, they have some great food on their tailgate menus. Look at that. And I have sampled many of those items previously at past events, and it's really, really good stuff. Cavs Philly tailgates will have additional events throughout the spring and summer, including before a Red Sox Phillies game in early May. And of course, at Eagles games this fall, but they can also, handle house parties, graduation events, you name it. For more information, email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Again, cavscatering@verizon.net, or just check their website, phillytailgates.com. And as you're probably aware by now, Bob Cavanaugh works closely with the crew at Philly Sports Trips, and they have some great trips in the works over the next few weeks and months. Look at this. They did the Yankee Stadium trip the other day. It didn't turn out to be a win, but everybody had a good time. They're going to the NFL draft at the end of the month. There's a trip to Coors Field, London and Leeds for the Union, and then go to Wrigley Field the end of June, early July. And as I mentioned, all of the away Eagles games this fall. So get all the information on that, details, pricing, additional trips, etc., at phillysportstrips.com, Bill.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate having those guys with us as well. Hey, Chet, I was going to lead into this by saying that Sixers were limping into the playoffs, having lost 4 out of 7. They didn't limp last night, and your man, Joel Embiid, was, let's just say he was on top of his game last night.
He really was. Bob Ryan from up in Boston, who's covered, sports for a long, long time, said it was one of the most impressive games by a center that he's ever seen. Because Embiid was just great. He shot 20 for 25, 52 points in 38 minutes. And pretty much the Sixers are locked into the 3rd seed. So it's good that they can't slip back to the 4th. Highly unlikely they're still going to catch the Celtics for a second. But yeah, what a night for Embiid. He played 38 minutes to score those 52 points. He was a plus 17 on the night. His backup, Paul Reed, and I like B-ball Paul, he played 9 minutes and was a minus 13. So, man, you clearly lose a lot when Embiid is not on the court. Now, I'm not going to get carried away and say, yeah, the Sixers can beat the Celtics, because Boston won 3 out of the 4 meetings this year, and they were without Jaylen Brown last night, and they still almost pulled it off in the end. The Sixers got a little sloppy in the last 20 seconds, believe it or not. So they got the win. The key thing for me is that Embiid seems to be very, very healthy right now. Harden still got a little Achilles thing, but he's playing through it. He's had some good games, some bad games, but I think he'll be better than he was last year in the playoffs. All in all, a good win, but it's not going to make me say, yeah, they're definitely going to get past the second round this year. we shall see, as I like to say, Bill.
Yeah, well, and I think we all can say we're not going to get 52 points from him every night, and you don't want 52 points from him every night. You want, 4 guys scoring 25 or 3 guys scoring 30. You take that, and you're probably going to win. You can't depend on one guy to do that. As great as he played, that's not the formula.
Yeah, Maxey did not have a good night. In fact, his last 3 games against the Celtics, Maxey has been in single figures, I think 5, 6, and 8 points in those 3 games. So if they're going to play the Celtics in the second round, Maxey's going to have to step it up. But as far as Embiid and the trophy that a lot of people think he really, really wants, his coach believes.
The man just scored half our points in the NBA game. And I'm biased, but the MVP race is over.
There you go.
Yeah, and I do a good job. Great.
I didn't
great
play
job.
that. I think he's right about this, though. I think Embiid has taken away the top spot pretty clearly from Jokic. So I hope he does get it. But he said the right things after the game last night. He said that'd be nice, but there's still more work to do. He was mad how they got sloppy at the end and almost blew a 7-point lead in the last half minute. So I think he is focused. And while he wants the MVP, he also really wants to go further into the playoffs than they have the last 4 years.
Okay, so let me ask you this. There's just, 3 games left, right?
3 games left.
You shut him down? Shut him down, give him a week off, give Harden a week off.
Well,
there's nothing to gain, nothing to lose.
Next week. Yeah, they have the whole next week off anyway. They have a back-to-back Thursday and Friday. So you're definitely not going to play him in the back-to-backs. Give him one of those 2 games off, and then they finish up on Sunday. I would still play him Thursday and Sunday because they're not going to start their playoff series till I think the following Sunday because they have that, kind of play-in round, the 7 through 10 teams. So they'll be playing during the week. The Sixers will have pretty much the whole entire week off. So, yeah, I would not play him all 3 games, but I would definitely give him at least one of the games off, if not 2. There's the standing. Sixers now have clinched the 3rd spot at the very least. They would have to win out, and the Celtics would have to lose their final 3 for them to pass the Celtics. That ain't happening. So it's looking like a Sixers-Nets opening round matchup. The Nets haven't yet clinched that 6th spot, but that's what it's looking like. I'd rather play the Nets than the Heat, to be honest, because the Heat can be troublesome if Jimmy Butler is on his game. So either way, though, the Sixers win that, and then it's going to be a meeting with the Celtics in the second round. And much as we'd love to see them get past the second round finally, it ain't going to be easy, Bill.
No. And Chet, you're going to find this pretty hard to believe. Coming from me, shut him down. Shut him down. Get him rested. Get him healthy. Whatever it is, unless these ailments we hear about aren't really ailments and are just rest periods. Yeah. If he's hurt, shut him down. Shut Harden down. And they got to hit this thing, and they got to, they got a long road to hoe. We talked about their bench. They're going to have to play long minutes. Shut them down. Get healthy. Go after this thing, and win it one at a time. One game at a time, one series at a time. It ain't going to be easy, like you said.
Let's play him one more game, either Thursday or Friday. Then shut him down. He's got a full week plus off then.
Yeah, well, you never know what could happen in that one game, though.
I know. I would regret it if he got seriously hurt.
Exactly. It's meaningless.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. Football season's over. It's not stopping. What's going on at the Edge of Philly? Baseball, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, union soccer. We got it all covered. Catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as on Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can find our show on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel as well. Please help us out by hitting the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Chet, let's touch on the Eagles real quick. Not a whole lot going on, but they quietly made a move to strengthen the defensive line with the addition of Kentavious Street from the Saints. And by the way, his name is Street. That's what he goes by. Kentavious has been hacked so many times, his name is Street. That's all he goes by.
Oh, just like Slay. So
yeah. That's
Street
it.
Street and Slay. There you go. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he was kind of a journeyman player, played for the 49ers and the Saints last year. Had a decent year last year. I think he had 3.5 sacks. Played pretty much every game. He had some injuries the first couple of years he was in the league. So more depth, another one-year contract guy, how he likes giving these one-year contracts. So we'll see what he has to offer. I think more importantly, though, a lot of talk about the draft still this week and whether the Eagles go with Jalen Carter if they stay at 10 or Bijan, the running back. I know we talked about him before, but there's a lot of buzz. Some people love the idea. Some people do not want them to take a running back, no matter how good he is at 10. What do you know about Jalen Carter? You've watched Georgia play a lot of games. He's a Georgia guy, so he's got to be decent.
If Jalen Carter is available at 10, the only way it'll be because he's got some legal issues going on.
Yeah.
He will absolutely be picked at 10. He's the best player in the draft. He was number one on everybody's draft board before his personal situations going on. Yeah. You know, and then supposedly at Georgia Pro Day, he had gained 9 pounds from the combine to the to the pro day. So that dropped him even more. But he's the best player in the draft when he was right. And if he's there at 10, they're absolutely taking him.
All right. Hey, the other big Eagles thing that we did not get to talk about last week was the fact that they're going to be wearing Kelly green for at least one game this fall, maybe two. We'll see. But there's a artist rendition of it, I guess, a little Photoshop work of Jalen and Devontae. I forget, where do you stand on this? Do you care about the uniform colors? Do you have a preference? What says you, Bill?
I absolutely could care less. That has nothing to do with the game. The fans like it. They could sell more crap.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with anything. It's a fan thing.
That surprises me because as an old school guy like you are, I thought you might go for the old Kelly green look.
No, that really doesn't.
We agree. I don't care either way. I mean, I think it's nice that they will do it for one or two games because, as you said, the fans love it. They will sell more merch, and it'll be something different. So I'm okay with that, but I'm glad they're not switching entirely back to it because I don't know. I like the midnight green too. So yeah, just once or twice is fine.
Yeah. Well, and I was never a fan on the black on black on black. Only because they used to wear them for big games and they didn't win those big games.
Yeah.
And I think Boop kind of corrected me on a stat. I think he actually put up that later on they actually played a little bit better in those alternate uniforms, but I just wasn't a fan of it because they just didn't seem to be successful in it. So anyway, just play the game. I don't care if they're out there in practice jerseys, just win and wear them wings. Wear them wings on your hat. I like them.
Hey, the other thing from pro football that we didn't get to touch on, the NFL apparently is pushing for the ability to switch or to flex some Sunday games to Thursday games or Monday. They would, have to give 2 weeks notice, but still, boy, I hate that idea, especially for fans, fans who buy their tickets well in advance, make hotel reservations, make travel plans, and then you're going to switch a game from a Sunday to a Thursday a couple of weeks ahead of time and screw everything up. Fortunately, some players, including Patrick Mahomes, now are coming out against this idea because, first of all, most of them hate the Thursday games anyway. But to suddenly be, hit with this a couple of weeks beforehand, boy, what do you think, Bill?
I think it's awful. I don't think it'll happen.
I don't either. Too much opposition.
The only way I see it happens when they go to the next contract negotiation thing and goes through the players union and all that. I just don't. And I don't think they'll approve it, but I just can't see, like you said, teams hate it to begin with and to jerk them around. And maybe, say Patrick Mahomes, all of a sudden you're going to give him 4 Thursday night games, because he can be on TV. They're going to watch him if he's playing Sunday or Monday too. It doesn't matter. So keep the schedule the way the schedule is, as bad as Thursday night football is to begin with.
And that's the reason why they want to do it, because Amazon is not happy that they ended up with a lot of crappy games last year. Amazon paying the NFL, a whole lot of money now for these Thursday games, and they want some better quality games. So I can understand where they're coming from, but yeah, I agree. It's just not fair.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing with Amazon is they did get some bad luck in the matchups, but you can't predict who's going to be good and who's going to be bad.
Right.
You know, some good teams weren't good and some not so good teams were better. So, you know, was just a bad draw. This year they might get all great games.
Yeah, you never know.
So, hey, great guest tonight in Judy Arnold. Who's coming to Philly Press Box next week?
Well, as we mentioned, Bill, the Sixers regular season draws to a close this Sunday, and then they get several days off, pretty much a full week before their first playoff game against the Nets or whoever. We're not entirely sure yet. So we will get a Sixers playoff preview next week, courtesy our buddy from the Inquirer, the Sixers beat writer, Keith Pompey. Keith does a great job covering the Sixers. So we look forward to getting his take on what sort of run the Sixers might be able to make in the postseason. We may or may not have a second guest. If not, though, Bill, I'm going to promise you a random Chet segment.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to do a random Bill for you, Chet. And since I control the agenda here, we're going to skip the Flyers for you tonight.
Oh, no.
How's that? Because we're running out of time, and we spent quality time with Judy Arnold, and I'm glad we did. So we're not going to spend any quality time on the Flyers. We'll catch up with them next week. How's that for you?
Get over it, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Let's take another quick break. Thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia, excuse me, on their Facebook page so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right, PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook. And Chet, by the way, as we speak, there is a Raz up there with a Mike Schmidt, Robin Roberts, and Richie Ashburn ball. You get them all. The winners take all.
Nice.
All right. What else you got? Or you want to talk Flyers?
No. One other thing I want to mention, there's all of a sudden an abundance of sports movies. Air just hit theaters today, the Air Jordan sneaker movie with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and others, and it's getting really good reviews. So I'm going to have to see that either this weekend or very, very soon. Also, there's the George Foreman movie coming out later this month. And Bill, I saw 2 movies over the last couple of weeks. Bring Judy back next week. She would like that. I saw Creed 3 and I saw Champions. Yeah, we know. Champions is the movie with Woody Harrelson where he ends up coaching a bunch of Down syndrome type kids. Schmaltzy, but really, really, really heartwarming. So I think you would like Champions. And as for Creed 3, man, it is still good. I love the first Creed movie. The second one, not quite as good, but the third one, really, really good. Predictable, but good. So go see Creed 3. Go see Champions if it's still in the theater near you. I like them both. And that's all. I love going to movies and a couple of good sports movies. So check them both out.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Again, we're going to wrap it up, Chet. But, hey, great job with the Judy Arnold interview. And thanks to Judy for coming on with us and get that book. Do you have that address again right handy, or is it in your
I don't have it handy, but it was in the piece. And JudyArnoldSkater.com is where you can order it from her website. And if you wanted to pay by check, you can find out through that how to do that. But $25 if you want it that way, or $10 on Amazon Kindle if you want to read it as a Kindle. So
and
get it out. It is worth it.
And if you go through JudyArnoldSkater.com, you can get your autograph copy.
Yes,
that way.
yes.
Very good. Anything else before we wrap?
That is all. Enjoy what's left of flatbread or deep dish pizza day because I'm getting hungry.
There you go. Me too. All right. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Judy Arnold, our sponsor, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Phillies Tailgate, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chetchesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, April 12th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
High hopes.